Wow. So, an acquaintance turned me into this book. It's called President Obama and His Three Main Conservative Opponents. Obama Facing Three Conservative Gurus. It's by a guy named Evenson Dufour. Sounds French. Anyway, it's a little outdated. It was put out during the first year of Obama's first term. And I have to say, I'm not normally someone to make political commentary. And the reason why I stay away from it is because I still have a lot to learn. And where I do have opinions, I think sometimes that I should look into situations more. And this leaves me a little behind everybody else who just kind of jumps the gun and comments immediately. But this time I feel like this needs to be talked about. I'm going to put aside the author's obvious bias aside, while at the same time he spends something like 8 chapters talking about how he's not biased, while at the same time bringing up ethnicity every other word, it seems like. Uh, Chapter 12, and let me just read a sentence for you as soon as I can find it, because this is something he's mentioned more than once. I should state while I'm looking for the spot that this is a author who said that the reason why China is buying up the world's debt is because China is acting like a kindly grandfather, to paraphrase, that does not want to see the world's nations fall, which kind of shows how ignorant he is on the history of China. And he keeps talking about how the nature of man is to always be fair and everything needs to be fair. And fairness is how it's going to be. And so in chapter 12, he puts out his political theory, Evensonism. And basically, in Evensonism, there will be more than the UN. There will be an even more powerful global thing that he wants to call the CN Convergence of Nations. It'll have this written charter where everyone in will have to participate no matter what, and it'll be 10 times more powerful because the governments that have refused to participate despite UN sanctions and whatever has never happened before. Where is it at? Quote, the phase of the purification of the world will look at things at an even level. End quote. The phase of the purification of the world. Now, this is something that we hear from alien abductees. We hear from globalists, people with the New World Order, and now I am seeing in this little itty bitty book that pretty much praises Obama for being alive. I'm not sure, my acquaintance thought that I would be interested in this, and I don't normally read political books, but I was really struck by that. He speaks of it in a lot of ways, and he talks about how when the world is purified, when the purification of the world happens, everything is going to be fair. That is what many people who are forced to work with the alien agenda come back saying they are told that whenever the global purification happens, things will be fair. Well, okay, let's take the and the reason why I'm mentioning this is not to pick on this guy because some really good ideas come out of things like this sometimes, but there is something that I needed to point out, and this is that globalist agenda, that idea that everything is going to be even, and my question is even for whom? One of the reasons why we're having so much global upheaval today is a demand for fairness. Meanwhile, we are being infringed upon by forces that do not see things as fair, or rather, they do see things as fair, but in a very skewed, double standard point of view. We have fairness coming from one sector, unfairness disguised as fairness coming from the other. And meanwhile, we've got the what I can only call the alien menace coming down with, we're going to purge the world and we're going to force you to be fair. And what people who would like things to be fair don't realize is that life isn't fair. And as a matter of fact, we have evolved to deal in a cosmos, not just Earth, a cosmos in which life isn't fair. And that is why we have the edge to get up and above things and the ingenuity to create things. If things had always been fair, we wouldn't have inventions like the printing press, computers, iPhones, Android, because there would be no competition because everything would be perfectly fair. And I have noticed this, swinging this to the alien agenda, which I'm not saying that he is part of so much as he talks, does like him. Has anybody else noticed that the ship designs have not changed in a good, gosh, at least half a millennium, if not more? Is this because if it's not broke, don't fix it? Or is it because things are so fair in their society, there's no drive anymore to improve? There's also something else that I've noticed, and comes from the research of Dr. Jacobs, is how everything's so fair that they will actually, if you are, let's say, slated to become a bodyguard in their society, because in that they are very, very, very highly Platonian Marxist, in that they decide for you what you're going to do for a living or be in life. You don't get to choose. So they take these people and they program them, so that's literally all they can do. That's all they can think. That's all they can do. There's no more, no less. It's very ant-like, their society. It's a big ant hill. And if you don't know anything about ants, as I have said many times before, it's kind of scary. The queens get started from embryohood to become a queen, and each type of ant in the hill is literally molded from the moment they're laid as an egg to become this thing, and that's all they do, and they cannot deviate from their path. So going back to the ships, it's like the ships haven't evolved much. Now, they evolve when they absolutely have to. For example, when we figured out that we could stop their abductions through this and through that, then they adapted. So they can adapt. They can't always overcome, as in the example of tying a rope around your body, because for them, we must be naked. We are the lowest level. We don't get clothes, Dobby. No socks for us. So this woman was tying a rope around her body, and so they wouldn't even pick her up, which means that they couldn't even adapt and overcome enough to let her wear a rope on ship because it was against the program. This might, you guys may take this for granted, but tying and untying knots, if we're taught it as children, then you guys should realize that this is because it's a skill we're being taught. And so I'm against Velcro shoes as a result, because we all should know how to tie and untie knots. It's a very important skill. But they have lost the ability to tie and untie knots because it's no longer used in their technology. Life isn't fair. This doesn't mean that it's a bad thing, and it doesn't mean we shouldn't help our fellow man up and work to make things a little more fair, because we should. But we should always understand and appreciate the fact that, as with yin and yang, life isn't fair. And when you take away the ability to improve by leveling the playing field so flat that it's not even a walk, you just, sit and the field moves for you, you're going to lose a lot of what makes mankind one of the greatest species in the universe. And that is my comment for the day. If you like this comment, I'm going to give a donation link below, understanding that I don't really do a whole lot of this stuff. So memberships or anything, I don't do enough of these comments. But this was just something that I felt needed to be looked at and for everyone to contemplate.